So I want to make it very informal. Tonight's topic is stress and anxiety. In case you didn't know, it's not something that I'm not familiar with, unfortunately. But I think after tonight, my goal is for us all to get a different understanding of what it is and how we can harness that power. Does that make sense? Good, good. So we'll start with defining it. Then we'll go into tips of how to use it and 7 different habit-changing things. So how would you define stress? Yes, good. Glad we have Israelis.
Response to natural things that happen in our surroundings.
Perfect. There's room for 2. He hit it on the head. Now, how would you define anxiety?
Results from your thoughts.
Good. What's the difference between the 2? So before we even get into that, I want to tell you Rabbi Amiri, who's a doctor and psychologist, he defines stress as when the demand is greater than the resources, right? When whatever's demanded of us is more than we can do. You hear? Any demand placed on a brain or physical body is stress. Makes you feel frustrated, etc. Anxiety is a feeling of fear, worry, or unease. Now can you figure out the difference? You guys are just going to listen to a lecture? I'm making you work. Come on.
One is like in the future, the unknown, the anxiety.
Perfect. You got that. Good. So what's the difference between that and stress?
Physiological versus emotional.
Exactly. Stress is something is actually there. Anxiety is here. Okay? Now, we're not going to get into details and technicalities, right? We're going to go broad brush strokes. What happens when you're in a stressful situation?
You perform,
Your body tends to freeze.
Okay, good. That's one reaction is exactly, what was your name again?
Sarah.
Sarah. You freeze.
physiologically you change, your heart beats, you're stressful, like have the physical response to it.
You hear that? You hear what Nadav is saying? So I'll tell you from a scientific, it's exactly what you said, but in very boring scientific words. Physiologically, the amygdala sends a distress signal to your brain. Woo, woo, right? Think of like that little red light, right, going off. And your heart rate goes up, your heightened senses, you're breathing more deeply, and you have a rush of adrenaline. Your body releases cortisol, and you're in a fight or flight. Right? You mentioned flight, Sarah. Fight or flight reaction. Those are your 2 options. Anybody here a Marvel fan? Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Right? So like when I thought of this, my kids are like diehard Marvel fans. It's insane. Like my 7-year-old was watching Infinity War and Endgame. This can't be good for him. Oh yeah, I got to make sure his rabbis don't see this. So Spider-Man has a heightened senses. Spidey sense, thank you. Right? It's exactly what happens to us. Now, everything sounds pretty good so far, no? What could be bad with that? In our day and age, when we don't have actual triggers, this was a product of a defense mechanism for us. So if there's a lion, or if there's a terrorist, or if there's whatever threat you have, your body can react to it. You're pushing yourself to 120%. To react. What's the negative side effect of that?
If it's constant, and
Good.
it's rebuilding your system, and it's constant, you all the time have the triggers. I believe that we live in a world that is fueling anxiety.
100%. 100%. It's actually a fact, and we'll get to that in literally 10 seconds. But that's what's happening. Do you hear what Nadav is saying? We don't have an actual terrorist necessarily or a lion to trigger us. By the way, the trigger lasts 90 seconds, but because we repeat it in our brain, it continuously reboots, so to speak. You guys are all Gen Z, you know that, right? I had to Google it. You're all, okay, fine. I don't even know what I am. I'm definitely not Gen Z. I didn't even want to look that up. But Gen Z, I want to tell you a very scary statistic, and we'll get uplifting, but I'll depress you first. Gen Z is experiencing more stress than any other generation. Gen Z. More stress than any other generation. 61% are facing anxiety diagnosis. 61%. And what if studies, Deloitte and McKinsey had a study. What do they find as the main contributing factor to this anxiety? Social media. That's exactly it. The study has shown that social media. Can you figure out why now? Now that we've kind of defined stress, anxiety, you guys are hopeless. No, I'm kidding. Why do you think it's social media?
It's just the constant stress of keeping up with stuff.
It's built.
That's perfect life.
Compare yourself to
Right.
what is shown versus what is what you have.
I feel like
Right.
all the algorithms and all the social media, they like a casino. So they keep popping up like stuff and it like reminds like.
But you know, you're saying it half joke. It's exactly. I mean, we have a social media expert, Alan. He will tell you. I mean, how does it work?
Yeah, it keeps you,
Like Las Vegas, huh?
it's supposed to keep you hooked. They know what you want and keep you going. So right when you're going to exit, they keep you hooked on it.
They keep you. That is exactly the point of it. That, by the way, that's why it's called the net, the worldwide net.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that. Wallerstein talks about it. So that's all. So social media paints this fantasy land, this picture of these people are in heaven. You know, anytime we hear of somebody getting divorced in our community, I look at my wife and I say, that can't be right. Like, are you serious? We literally just had somebody get divorced after 6 months of marriage. We were at the wedding. I'm like, can we stop payment the check? Like, it's my Persian side. I mean, come on. We're celebrating a wedding there. You know, this wasn't part of the plan. But that's what happens when social media paints this elaborate picture and you feel FOMO and you feel like you need this and you need that. We all feel that way. All right? Yeah. I remember, I don't have social media. I have text, iMessage. I don't know if that counts. But I remember when one of my employees... WhatsApp? I do have WhatsApp, yes.
Jewish TikTok.
Not sure if WhatsApp's great. It's a lot of, can you donate here? But I remember somebody showed me one of our products became viral on TikTok this moment. This was a year ago. So our marketing person comes. He says, you got to see this. I said, show me. He shows me the clip. It's so fast. And then I'm like, wow. And I'm like, digest. And there's another clip, another clip, another clip. Like, you go crazy. It's unbelievable. So is stress, so now that we've talked about, hopefully now we've understood what it is and what causes it scientifically. Study after study have shown it. Is stress good or bad?
Oh, depends.
So Jewish. What a good Jewish crowd. Yes. You don't even need to go to yeshiva.
Okay, so when you have like a terror attack and you want to like...
Oops, maybe cut that out of the recording.
So example, like if you live in Israel, you go out today, you go to buy clothes, you hear sirens, you want to stress, you want to move back.
Exactly. Right? Nadav knows a thing or two about that probably. Is it good or bad? The Rambam gives you a beautiful answer, and he said exactly what you said. The Rambam coined something called the golden path, where in everything in life, with the exception of two traits, always take the middle road. It's not good, it's not bad. There's good stress and there's bad stress. In short, good stress is, as Nadav explained, when you need to get to a bomb shelter, it's nice to get extra cortisol and heightened senses and your adrenaline running. It gets you to the bomb shelter. Bad stress is when it paralyzes us, right? When the stress is continuously rearing its head and preventing us from functioning. Because physiologically what happens is when the body releases so much cortisol over and over again, our body can't get rid of it. And it actually damages the brain. And there's 6 causes of death that anxiety is attributable to. So, because again, your body is overwhelmed with all of these heightened senses. Imagine, I'm a car guy, imagine you take a car and you just rev it max RPM over and over and over again. And you just keep it there. Just keep it at that 7,000, 8,000 RPM. The engine's going to bust. Right? I mean, if it's a Tesla, it'll bust anyways, but it's okay. Elon's a friend of ours. We can make jokes, all right? Okay, so I want to talk about a prerequisite, 2 prereqs to mastering stress. The first thing is something called neuroplasticity. This is the first thing you're going to say is, if I'm in a stressful situation, I can't control myself. I'm stressed, right? So, wrong. The Rambam teaches us that way before science has taught us this, we control our mind, right? We are in control of our mind. Okay? That's neuroplasticity, and you could look that up afterwards. Step 1 is to reframe what happens to us. Reframe what happens to us in life. Can anybody give an example of a stressful situation? Of a friend's, not yours.
Cutting someone off, them getting out of the car, and them trying to get into a fight with you in the middle of the street.
Wow, that was on the news yesterday. That happened to you? Oh, gosh.
San Bernardino.
Really? So that is stressful. And in the moment, you were probably like stressed, to say the least, right? It wasn't him? Oh, it's right, sorry. David. But maybe it was to wake us up to something, right? I was, a good friend of mine went to Israel. We're in the pool Sunday, Tony. And we're playing with this kid, and he goes to me, Roy, I'm going to Israel tomorrow. I'm like, you're going to Israel tomorrow? Yeah, I got to go to Israel. I'm like, wow, like that's amazing, Like you have that, you want to go to the Kotel that bad? Like a day in advance. And it really changed my entire weekend, what he said to me. His cousin, 1.5 years old, died choking on an apple. And he wanted to be at the funeral procession. And it's heartbreaking. But as the Baal Shem Tov and Hasidic wisdom teaches us, everything is meant for a reason. Why did he have to tell me that at that moment? It's to wake us up, to appreciate life. Right? King Solomon says, it's better to go to a house of mourning than a house of joy. Persians don't hold by this so much. Persian weddings are packed, let me tell you. Why is that?
To remind us.
To remind us. To remind us of the fragility of life. So again, stressful situation, perhaps is to remind us of how precious life is. You hear something like that, you go to sleep differently. So I'll give you my favorite example of reframing. There's a book, one of my favorite books, called Positivity Bias. Anybody read it? It's actually, I think it's for free online.
I wrote something, negativity bias.
Oh, really?
Negative. How the negative is more stronger than the good one.
So we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, because we are more prone to negativity than
Yes.
positivity. That's why it's more painful to lose money than gain money.
Yes.
That's why people lose money.
And not just Jews, by the way. He's talking about humans. So Positivity Bias is a book written about the Rebbe. And in it, there's a story. There's a group of his shlichim, these Chabad women. They're stuck, I forget which airport. I think it was like Portland, Oregon, somewhere. I really think it was Portland. I'm not sure where. And they call the Rebbe's secretary answers. And they say, we're stuck in the airport. Our flight's canceled. We're going to have to spend Shabbos in the airport. By the way, that is every religious Jew's nightmare. Why? What am I going to eat for 25 hours? Right? I mean, like, have you seen us travel? Like, we bring a suitcase for food for a 2-hour flight. It's like we are so deathly scared of not eating. So they called the Rebbe's secretary, and the Rebbe's secretary asked the Rebbe said, a Jew is never stuck in life. Powerful line. A Jew is never stuck in life. What do you have on you? We have candles. We have candles. We have snacks. We have this. We have that. Candles. Run around the airport and get women to light candles, Shabbos candles. You hear how he reframed it? How many Jews? I remember I was in the airport in Arkansas, a very rural airport, and my flight gets delayed. I'm just like, I'm already wiped, you know? They're 2 hours ahead. I woke up at like 3 a.m. our time. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's the only direct, there's only one flight a day to LA. So I'm just happy it's still happening, right? And all of a sudden I look back and I see this Chabad rabbi with a beard. Like, literally, this is like Mashiach, as close as, like, and everybody else is staring because, it's, who's this guy come from? It's not driving a Harley Davidson. And he's coming there, and he says to me, and I happen to know the rabbi, he says, we need a tent for a minyan. There's a Kaddish here. They have a flight to New York. Do you want to join us? I said, wow. Hashem had to delay American Airlines just so we have a minyan here at the airport. Amazing. Right? So reframing. The second prerequisite, and this is probably the most important one, and we're only going to spend a few minutes on it because we could spend hours on it, but I'm really tired, is have faith. Emunah, faith, is the number one, how should we say, medicine. Thank you. See, the Hebrew speaker is teaching me English. I love this. Medicine for stress. You hear? The number one antidote to stress is emunah.
I can argue that in this day and age,
The Israeli also has arguments. It's great.
people push, like a lot of culture now, they just push emunah, push like God aside, like a lot of culture, like the culture.
Yes,
Like the
absolutely.
Western culture.
Yes,
They like
absolutely.
forget like forget like the values, forget everything. No God, everything is science. It's just like no faith, no everything. So people are like, what is God? It's nonsense. So
Right. They look down on you even. Yeah. If you're believing, right? It's like, oh, this guy. You look like an Amish. You Google them. It's people here. It's how do you explain Amish people? But you're absolutely right. They look down on you. Faith. Faith is the only thing that can, by the way, it doesn't mean no bad will happen to us. Again, we could have a whole class on emunah and bitachon. It does not mean that no bad will happen to you. That's also a big misconception. What it means is that Rav Soloveitchik says, you never know why God does things, but try to understand, what do I do now? And you could see how that changes our frame of mind from being stressed and, what do I do? Some things are out of my control. And guess what? A lot of times, that's what God wants you to do. Right? God wants us to say, hey, remember me? I'm here. Somebody's got to push us to actually wake us up. To get us closer to Him. Right? What do I do when a kid's misbehaving? Ella's here. I wake him up. I make him realize, hey, we got rules in there. We really don't have rules in the house. Come over. I'm not talking about witness.
I have no idea.
My friend goes to me, Elon Gold comes over to do a little skit. He goes, wow, you afford Lenny's, but you can't afford a housekeeper to clean up this house? Oh, everything. So it's a balagan, as they say in the mother tongue.
yeah.
So, emunah is all up here. Bitachon is applying it. Okay? Emunah is here. We're the Baruch Hashem generation. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. All of a sudden you see the guy popping Xana. Oh, what do you mean, Baruch Hashem, he said? What happened? A minute ago you were all...
There's a sentence, איפה שנגמר השכל, מתחילה האמונה.
Wow. Beautiful. Translate it. איפה ש...
It's not good.
I was about to say it in Hebrew again. Yeah, great.
איפה שנגמר השכל, מתחילה האמונה.
Wherever the brain ends, wherever logic ends, faith starts. Faith begins. It's a very nice line.
Rabbi Nachman Ullman said that.
So, I want to give you guys homework. Ella, don't worry. This is not applicable to you. You get enough at school about this. I want to give you guys homework. When I go through stressful situations, and I'm in the working world, this is my hobby. But I have to work too sometimes. And there are stressful situations. And whether it's with your kids, whether it's with a business transaction, whether it's with product stock, I can name you, we could talk about this all night. The one thing that I go to is a book on bitachon. An audio tape, a book. I can't tell you how many times I've read Shar HaBitachon. The Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, when somebody would ask him, tell him I have anxiety, what is the trufa, the medicine the Rebbe gave him? Read Shar Bitachon. Read this book. Read this book. Sephardi, Ashkenazi, Hasidic. This is like the go-to for building tranquility. And the Rebbe said read it 3-4 times, not once.
Anxiety.
Yeah, for anxiety. Nowadays you have WhatsApp groups, Daily Bitachon. It's a great, if you love Syrian accents and you can handle it, I highly recommend it. If you can't, I don't know, I only listen to Syrians really. But honestly, find something and spend 5 minutes on it. Because our world is constantly stressing us. Everything is a stressor. What do we do to equal it out? Right? What are we doing to balance ourselves? Once a week here is great. It's amazing. But it takes daily work. Just like when you go to the gym, we'll pick on Mike and Alan, right? When you go to Equinox and you're not in the steam room for half the time. What if you stop going, that's it. You're done. Right? You're done. It's the same thing when it comes to this bitachon. This muscle that conquers all stress, it takes daily work. So if you want to know any great, Shar Bitachon is amazing. Daily Torah Anytime has amazing books on it. You could listen to it on audio even. There's so many good things out there. I want to ask you a question. And there have been plenty of studies. In March 2009, Canada's National Post had a study in the University of Toronto that found a direct correlation with increased faith and lower anxiety. Direct. And I don't think they're even Jewish from the name of it. So can we get a little deeper? Yeah, you guys are still awake. Okay, I got 5 minutes. So Kabbalistically, you could say this all makes sense. This is all cute. Emunah is going to de-stress me. I want to tell you how it works Kabbalistically. The Maharal HaKadosh says. The Maharal was one of the famous Kabbalists that lived. He explains how the world works and how God operates. I wasn't going to share this with you guys, but you seem like a serious crowd, especially Nadav here. You got Nadav and Natan, in the front ranks. This is serious, Rabbi. So, the Maharal says that Emunah can actually lead to divine protection. Having faith leads to getting that protection. How does that work? So we have a special protection. You ever heard of the clouds of glory? Right? In the desert, the Jews had these clouds. Even today, the Jews have a special protection. We are an anomaly. The fact that we're around is a miracle, modern day miracle. The fact that Israel is around is a miracle, period. Right? The fact that we are the Nobel Prize winners, the amount of success in economics and everything else, far out of proportion to our 0.01% population ratio. Okay? So we have this built-in protection from God. How do we lose it? You hear the question? How do we lose it? Now, no matter how far we stray, sinning and eating non-kosher, doesn't matter. We're still God's kids. Right? We still have that protection. But there's one thing that can remove that protection. So you're going to have to come next week for that. So when we stop believing that God is protecting us, God can stop protecting us. You hear how it works? When we tell God we don't trust you, I'm worried right now, right? I've got stress. And God's like, what are you stressed about? I'm taking care of you. When we have that reaction, exactly happened in what? Last week's Parsha. I just thought of it right now. Yes, please.
Everybody have that reaction though?
Everyone does. Beautiful. It's a human reaction. So Pirkei Avot talks about traits. right? Alan and I are learning it. And one of the traits it talks about, there's 4 types of angry people. And I won't get into it because we're going to get sidetracked. But not once does it say a person who never gets angry. You know why?
Everyone gets angry.
Everyone gets angry. Right? Pirkei Avot was written by Sephardim. Come on. There's no such thing as a calm Sephardi. If there is, you haven't seen him long enough. So you're absolutely right. We all get stressed. But how do we react after that initial stress? Do we say it's in God's hands? Do we go back and internalize? Have we worked on ourselves on building that bitachon? To be able to say it's in God's hands? Shar bitachon says, God puts the power in what we put it in. The idea of karma. If we believe the customer has the power, then God says, okay, I'll put you in the hands of the customer. Good luck. Right? With all the anti-Semitism today, you definitely don't want to be in the hands of the customer. That's how it works. It's a hard thing. I'm not saying it's easy. I freak out all the time. Right? I get stressed. I go to the gym for that. I open a book. You know, my staff will see me reading a book sometimes. They probably think I'm crazy. I'm reading a book. That's how we do it. So emunah is like a drug. Those that have it are free from stress. The word for stress in Hebrew is what? Okay, lachatz. And what's the word for worrying in Hebrew? Daga. Daga has every letter in the first aleph. Makir et ze, right? Aleph, Gimel, Dalet. Hey, it's missing one letter. The bet. Bet stands for bitachon. When you don't have bitachon, when you don't have trust, you have worry. Bottom line. It works exactly like that. So we're going to go through 7 quick things, practical steps of reducing our stress. Okay? Sorry, I walk around. I have ADD. My kids clearly got that gene. All of them. Amazing. Didn't fail. Like, there was a wife too, you know. So step 1 is unplug. We live in such a fast-paced world. And Natan, we'll just pick on you. I know he knows Krav Maga, so I got to be careful how I pick on him. But imagine I smack you 150 times a day. You'd go crazy. Oh, you go mashugna.
Yeah, at least.
All right. How many times does your phone vibrate a day?
Way more.
Right? I don't know. I don't have social media, so I'm using 150, okay? How many times does it vibrate? Right? Now you got the wall, you got everything vibrating, you know? You got the glasses. I mean, you're just going to be a big vibrating machine. Sooner or later, that's what Apple wants. Could you imagine what that does to you? Your stress levels? Your attention span? Yeah, exactly. Right? If you don't believe it, look at Nima. Nima always gets a lot of love. He feels left out if he doesn't. He's like the adopted child. But he's feeling more like the real child. I'm getting worried. So you have to unplug. Science has shown us that it's so important to unplug. The Labor Department. Literally, the Labor Department has said we should take 1 day off of technology a week. Department of Labor. Just unplug. Right, we have Shabbat. We have Shabbat. It's just to unplug. You should see, like, when I go, I walk to Bet Knesset with Ella. She brings her Parsha book, her little notes. We read it together. I test her. Yes, it cost me some money because I give her points. But who said you can't buy love with money? Yeah. But in all seriousness, it's the most precious 15 minutes of our time. Now we got matching scooters, so we can scooter to shul together. Ella happened to choose the most expensive one for me. Thank you, Ella. It's a blessing. Our bodies need it. Our mind needs it. Because all of a sudden we don't have those distractions. Right? That's step 1. Step 2 is be mindful. Mindful, a very, very hot topic nowadays. Right? We thought about this years ago. Mindfulness, right? Go to Tzfat and be mindful. The Baal Shem Tov says you are where your mind is. If you're on the beach but your mind is at work or on this word or that word, you're there. Mindfulness. The Gemara says there's 3 steps to peace. Ata shalom b'bitcha shalom v'chol asher lecha shalom. Right? You have to have inner peace first. Then your house will have peace. Can you imagine if you're a nervous wreck, if you're belligerent, how are you going to have a peaceful relationship? It's impossible. Step one, inner peace. House peace, and then everything around you will have peace. Okay? Avoiding stress can be the biggest blessing in the home. So that's mindfulness. And when you're mindful, we're able to notice other people. You know? How many times are we glued to our phone, we don't even know what the other person said? Right? We were at a wedding in Palm Springs. I saw phones, I didn't see the wedding. Is anybody watching the wedding? Right? Like, it's just all phones. I didn't even know why you need a cameraman anymore. There's no way between all these phones you didn't get a better picture than the camera guy, like me skin, dripping sweat on the camera. We rarely live in the moment today. We live in, how can I show everybody I'm in this moment? Forget it. One of my favorite memories, I probably said this before, I took my son Asher to a concert. No, not like Usher, Akon, whatever. We took him to a Jewish concert. It was amazing. Everybody had payas. It was great. And I didn't know any of this. I knew a few of the songs. And we get there, and my wife, we come home. It was just me and him. And my wife says, I want to see all the pictures. And I said, you know what? I only took one at the end because I knew you were going to ask me for pictures. See, shalom bayit. You always have to have your wife on your mind all the time. And she says, you were there for 2.5 hours. What were you guys doing? I said, I really don't. We were there. We were there. Right? Like, I go scootering with my kids sometimes. I want to turn my phone on silent. I want to be there. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in this. Rav Wolbe. Rav Wolbe was one of the biggest self-help gurus.
Who was that?
Rav Wolbe. Wolbe. Don't confuse it with the other. And he told his students, all of his students, he said, this is a rule. I want you to take a walk every single day with no phone, no reading, nothing. Just with yourself. It's called Hidbodedut. Be mindful. Be mindful. Step is stop procrastinating. One of the biggest stressors is when we push things off. You ever do that? I got this new, it's called Airmail. So it's got a snooze button for your emails. It's amazing, but at the same time, it's like, man, I saw this email 10 times already. I just got to do something about it. Stop procrastinating. Pirkei Avot says, Im lo achshav imatai. If not now, then when? There's no better time than the present. Just do it. No pun intended. But just really do what we need to do. Oh, get married when I'm this, or when I'm this old, or when that. What was that? Wow.
Okay, for a minute. Hear that.
I was going to say, so we had to get your fight or flight. Emma, how's that cortisol? How's your heart rate? See? We planned this with the neighbors.
We used to.
אתם לא זזתם, כן. How'd you know that? Wow, that was amazing. Good job.
We live in the hood, so we know it's coming.
All right. Twilight? Fireworks.
July 4th. Now that our heart rates are all elevated, we can really get through this fast.
By the way, there's a free July 4th firework party in our house. You just come outside and you watch it go.
You got the preview tonight, not the full thing. Hopefully not the full thing. Okay, 3 more steps. So the 4th step to overcoming stress is health. What does that mean? Gym. Sleep, yes.
Like I know that if you immerse yourself in difficult stuff, you become more resilient to stress.
Yes.
So like hard running, cold, hot, all that stuff. When you like choose to have difficult stuff in life, that's what I know from my experience. You become like more adaptable to stress and anxiety and all that stuff. I'm like experiencing it on my own. So.
Imagine. I mean, I'm sure you don't have hot water every time in the army.
No, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was in yeshiva for a couple of weeks. I know. But I have to atone. I used to run to the David Citadel to work out there and shower there, so I don't have to shower in the yeshiva. But I know how it was. I did one day there. So, health. You know, Hillel Azaken said, even showering is a mitzvah. Right? Because taking care of our health is important. All right? Number 5 is perspective. What does that mean? So Nadav wrote a negativity bias, right? So humans are 6 times more likely to see the negative, according to Dr. Lieberman. 6 times more likely, right? Ashkenaz have a word for it. It's called kvetching. Persians have a word, vavela, and everything else. They just always complain, so there's not even a single word. It's like just... But we all have it as Jews, especially Jews. I mean, if you read the Torah, the one thing that stands out in the book of Shemot, and even now, I mean, it's just the level of complaining. You're like, holy moly, you know? I come home after I read the Parsha, I'm like, my kids are amazing, you know? Like, it was funny, our how old is Noah? 5-year-old threw a tantrum. We were literally going to Universal Studios, and the guy just destroyed every Lego on the floor, which is a lot of Legos. You know, he's like destroying everything, and I'm like, why is he doing this? I don't get it. But we have a different way of looking at things. We are naturally inclined to look at the negative. Okay? So we have to change our perspective. If we want to stop stressing, change how we look at things. You hear? What's an example?
You can just go take your car to downtown and see how people live.
Yeah. He's right. See, for Israelis, that's like better than the Hollywood sign. You know? You don't have that in Israel. Like, okay, I'm not, I walk with my kids. I gotta like cover their eyes like half the time. You know, oh, this guy's there, this guy's there.
I'm not from Israel. I'm like, oh wow, Los Angeles, must be the people here are rich and all that stuff. And I'm like, what is this shithole? I'm like, what is all this stuff? I saw a bunch of faces.
You see what social media does? All he's seeing is the LA social media. Nobody takes a selfie with a homeless guy, yeah? So change your perspective, right? And I want to tell you something from the Gemara in Brachot. The Gemara in Brachot asks, how do you interpret dreams? How do you interpret dreams, right? You're getting a lot of secrets today. This is one of my favorite parts of the Gemara. He says the dreams, I'll read you the Hebrew, Chalamot lefi hapitaron. The dream is fulfilled according to how it was interpreted. And it's a whole story in the Gemara there that there's a guy who's interpreting dreams. And you know what? This guy, he would interpret it positively, and for the other one, negatively. And poor guy, the guy who's negative, like he lost family members, like every time. What does this dream mean? Oh, that means your wife's gonna die. Boom, his wife dies. It's like, dude, what's going on here? They realize, this is funny, the Gemara is very accurate. The guy's walking into a ship, his book falls out of his pocket. So the guy who's had all these dreams interpreted negatively picks up the book, he sees his secret. The secret is the dream goes according to the interpretation. Whoever paid him, he got a good interpretation. Whoever did, he wasn't a Jewish guy, don't worry. At least not on the books. So everything is about how we perceive it. Everything is how we look at things. Number 6 is analyze the cause of stress. Cornell University had a study. 85% of what we worry about never happens. 85% of what people worried about never happened. Crazy? 85%. It's amazing. Why do we get so warped up and just focused on the stress? It's something called a focusing illusion. Psychologically, we are focused on this one thing and it just takes over our mind. We can't think of anything else, right? The stupidest things, like, if I'm trying to get an upgrade at a hotel, I'm just thinking of that. The whole day, I'm like, what a waste of my brain. Like, should have paid the extra $50, right? But we always focus on, you got a parking ticket. I got a parking ticket. Oh man, this was the worst. My wheel was on the bike lane. But like, it wasn't like above the lane. It was like on the white part of the lane. Dude, we live in LA. Who's biking? Like, I'm like, who's even biking right now, you know? I got pulled over 6 months ago. I got to find out what had happened with my speeding ticket. I want to tell the cop, there's like burglaries and like homicides. Don't you have something else? But we focus on this thing. And it bothered me for so long until I found a good attorney. Half kidding. I'll let you know how he is.
Probably true.
Probably, we'll see. If he wins, he's Jewish. If not, we'll put him in the other bucket.
I think also what you focus on really comes to reality. Whatever you focus on. So if you focus on what you don't have, you won't have. What you focus on, you do have. And when you focus on, like you said, like you're in the present, you're not in charge of the solution.
Absolutely.
Magic just happens.
Absolutely. What Al-Natan is saying, Kabbalistically, what we think about brings it to fruition. Right? Our thoughts have power. Okay? Our thoughts have power. Focusing illusion, such a big thing. Analyze the cause of stress. A friend called me with a marriage crisis. It's on the way, I had an hour drive. What's going on? The smallest thing. Smallest thing. I said to him, you are so lucky. You are like what you're complaining about is like the biggest blessing. You're so blessed. You should go kiss your wife right now. Hang up right now. Just hang up the phone. I can't do that, Roy. I'm mad at her. I'm like, trust me on this one. This is nothing. The last thing. This is one of my favorites. Is King Solomon says, share your worries. Okay, not on social media. Don't blast it everywhere.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Right?
Yeah, I do that a lot. I try to do it a lot.
Oh, Israelis. I mean, that's why the coffee shops are busy, you know? I went with Ella. We went to Cafe Hillel. I don't remember where it was. It's like 12:30 a.m. I hope they're open. Open? We can't get a seat. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We went on a one-on-one trip. You remember when we landed?
Yeah.
We went to get steak. Yeah, of course. What else are you going to get in Israel at midnight? And it's packed. Luckily, I made a reservation in the airport. So everything is about how we perceive it. But it's all about sharing it with everyone. I'm going to quote you a Gemara from Masechet Yuma. I was learning with Rabbi Israeli today. De'aga balev ish. Very nice. Yesichena le'acherim. Beautiful, Rabbi. Right? A worry. When you have a worry, you speak it to someone, it just deflates it. Now, this is the asterisk, right? Like on packaging, you have all the fine print. Be careful with Lashon Hara. You don't want to just blabber about everybody. You find a confidant, you find someone, you have like your go-to one or two people, and you share with them. And you tell them, I don't know if this is 100% accurate. This is just how I feel. Right? Don't judge this person. It helps so much. And I want to tell you, 12 years ago, Nahal and I, my wife and I, started in a community just like yours. Aish community. And one of the most beautiful things about what you guys have is number 7. Is the ability to really be one. That you can share with whatever is on your mind, whatever is bothering you. I forget about the rabbi and the rebbetzin who are amazing, so warm and kind, but everyone here is a community. If October 7th has given us one, probably the most amazing blessing, is that feeling of we're all one. Right? We're all one. I'll quote you something from the Tomer Devorah. Tomer Devorah is written by Rav Moshe Cordovero, one of the famous Kabbalists. One of my favorite books. I just finished it. Highly recommend it. You did?
Just finished it.
How'd you like it?
Amazing.
What's the name?
I did not pay him. This was not a solicited ad. Tomer Devorah. Tomer Devorah in English. And it just goes through the 13 attributes of God. It makes you a kinder person. Or at least it tries to. I'm still working on it. But I'll read you one line from there. You ever wonder how come Rabbi Jack probably does 8 or 10 kiddushes Friday night here? Right? Because if you didn't do kiddush, if you didn't do a bracha on a mitzvah, then another Jew, even though he did it already, can say it for you. Kabbalistically, how are we allowed to do that? You're not allowed to just say brachas left and right. Because this is due to the deep spiritual connection that exists between all Jews. Since I have within myself a portion of the other one's soul, if he has not yet recited Kiddush, I lack that mitzvah as well. Do you understand? In a deep Kabbalistic sense, we literally are one. I have a portion of my soul in him, and vice versa. All right? Don't use this as a pickup line, guys. I can see this being used. At least the girls now are warned. They know. But it's such an amazing line. And you guys are so blessed to have that connection here. You're so blessed to have that community. The best thing, the classes are amazing. The food is great too. I could attest to it firsthand. But what's even more amazing is the camaraderie. Im enani li mili. We started with a Mishnah from Pirkei Avot that says, if not now, when? The beginning says, if I'm not for myself, who am I? But if I'm only for myself, what am I? The way to de-stress our lives is first and foremost to remember that we're one. To remember that and to live that way. Right? To live that way. So we'll summarize and we'll end with a quick story. There's good stress and there's bad stress. It's within our control, right? High level, we reframe things. Having faith has been proven to lower our levels of stress. Steps to lower stress, number one is unplug, Shabbat, vacations, right? We have it built into our religion. Mindfulness is number two. Don't procrastinate. Right? We love to procrastinate. Just do it, man. It's not worth putting a reminder. Just do it. Number four is health. Health. Rambam talks about it at length. 5 is perspective.
Go to downtown.
Right. Number 6 is 85% of what we worry about never happens. And number 7 is community. We share with others. And the number one key to avoiding stress is having clarity. What is important in life? That's why these classes are priceless. Right? For me, in my journey of growth, both as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a businessman, it was these classes. And not only that, the one-on-one, the learning one-on-one, understanding what's important in life. Because when you know what's important in life, I don't care how hard that journey is, it will not be stressful. Because you know you're on the right path. Right? You know you're doing the right thing. Right? Being a father, I hear the baby, Baruch Hashem. It's not stressful because you know you're raising a kid. You're raising your own kid. Having clarity. Having that yeshuv adat, as they say in Hebrew. Right? And thank God we have the Torah as our guidebook. We don't need to be confused. Right? The Judeo-Christian value system that America is built on, we have right there on that bookshelf. You don't need to go far. But remember, even after all of it, everything's said and done, stress will still happen. Right? Don't freak out if after this we get anxiety. It'll still happen. We all jumped up except for these two guys when the fireworks went off, right? And I'll end with a story. It's one of my favorite stories. When Jamie Siminoff started a company called Ring, he had an issue with the cameras, with the functionality of the tech. You're going to appreciate the story, Nadav. This class was really just meant for Nadav. You guys are just listening in. Thank you for coming and listening to this one-on-one class. Appreciate your... They didn't pay, right? I hope they didn't pay. We got to get a refund after. And Jamie says, he's got all these Ring cameras built, and he finally tests it, and there's lines across the screen. And he went back and he wanted to fix the problem, but he couldn't because the chipset that was built into the product was not upgradable. Right? There was no Wi-Fi functionality where you can do an over-the-air upgrade. So he was stuck. His life's work was literally worthless. So what did Jamie do? He's Jewish, by the way. We could say this story here. He went to dinner with his wife, date night. You can't stop date night. Now, I want you to see, just listen to that for a second. Ended up happening is the solution came to him naturally. You see, because he wasn't in the fight or flight moment, right? Because he wasn't paralyzed by stress. because he was mindful, because he was able to be there with his wife, because he's able to unplug from the work stress. He's able to do all these things. He figured out a solution, and the rest is history, as they say. Right? So Bezrat Hashem, we should all be able to take in the emunah, the bitachon, and we too will overcome every struggle and turn it into a positive Bezrat Hashem. Thank you.